Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my review of the final episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was very, very good. And this will kind of be my review of the whole series as well. Don't know if we're going to get another one. So maybe just one and done, who knows. It finished its timeline in 2017, which is 2 years before King of the Monsters takes place in the Godzilla timeline. Hopefully they're sticking to that. Maybe. I don't really know, but it sort of sounds like they are to a degree. This episode was fantastic. It was a really good episode. And yet, and there is an and yet, essentially a but, it reveals just how lackluster the whole season has been. And it's really unfortunate because this was it was such a stellar episode. And I kind of do understand that some of this stuff they're unable to do because of funding and budgetary constraints. But everything that was set in the 50s was overwhelmingly better. It was better written, the characters were better, it was more mysterious, it was compelling, it was just far more interesting when it wasn't weighed down with all the modern day stuff. And so, as much as this was a fantastic episode, it does highlight that this entire show itself, I feel, tried to do what can only be described as 3 seasons worth of potential content in 1 season. Because there's definitely 3 seasons worth of timelines, story threads, and then ultimately where it wraps itself up. And they tried to get it all in 10 episodes, whereas it realistically should have been 30, I think. So what happened? Well, and what did we learn anyway? Well, we learned that Axis Mundi is a world between worlds, so it's not the Hollow Earth. So I was wrong there. It's a world between worlds. We don't actually know where it is. It's definitely not in the Hollow Earth, but it's an area that I don't know. They don't really explain it, but it's an area that is sort of parallel to Earth, but not. Timelines work completely differently. Keiko's been down there for 57 days. I think she said 57 or 56 days. When in reality, obviously, it's been years. It's been years and years and years. I don't know whether it's been about 57 years. I'd have to figure out the timeline again. But time moves at such a bizarre rate down there. We learned that Shaw had been there for a week. So that's interesting. He lost 20 years and he'd been there for a week. She's been there for 57 days and has lost, close to like 50 odd years. Yeah, I mean, it's that Shaw, I'm trying to get my words out. Shaw and Keiko's reuniting scene was so heartfelt. And you know why that is? Those characters were so well written that when it comes to... It's not even the strength of the acting. That helps, but it's in combination with such great written characters. They were so well written, so likeable. So when Shaw hides behind a tree because he doesn't want to reveal himself, because he knows that Keiko's going to be like, you're an old man, what on earth has happened? And, there's almost like an insecurity element there where he doesn't really want to reveal himself because obviously I'm sure he knows that she's going to look exactly the same. And he, he was infatuated with her. We know that. We'd seen it in the earlier episodes. And he doesn't want to reveal himself because of that as well. It was so heartfelt. Really, really heartfelt. And it was a great performance as well. But it's so that emotional element of that reunion worked because the characters were so well written, and everything in the 50s in this timeline and this show was great. So you really felt for it, I think, anyway. And then it's kind of business as usual. They try... We learn that it's Keiko that had rewired Shaw's gamma... Essentially the Titan luring device. Rewired that to send out a signal that, wouldn't lure Titans, basically. And he's like, you know what we can do? If we can rewire it back, we can lure a Titan and get out of here. Cool. Perfect. They go back to where Shaw had landed, his little pod. It had been a week. It had been a week, I think. Something like that. Anyway, I can't remember what they said. It had been there a week. They begin rewiring it. And lo and behold, what makes an appearance again? It's the Titan from the Philippines. The sort of dragon-esque Titan. And Godzilla comes back. Godzilla is a Titan that is lured because this Filipino Titan... It's not Filipino Titan, but the Titan from the Philippines is already in the Axis Mundi, which is the location that they're in. Godzilla and the Titan have a fight. It's almost like Godzilla is well aware of what's going on, because sort of as Godzilla comes through the rift, there's a camera angle that insinuates that Godzilla is looking at the humans and is aware that they're there, basically. So essentially he's come to save them, which is quite nice. Anyway, Shaw doesn't make it because he has to get out and rewire the gamma device, and he doesn't make it, and that's very sad. That's very, very sad. I think. Very sad. Pulled on my heart feels. And Kurt Russell, Wyatt Russell, stellar job for this series. They were so good. And I wish it had been more of them. And more of the 50s. Meanwhile, what's happening on Earth, on the top side, present day, current day, 2015, is Hiroshi, I don't understand that storyline. I just don't like it. Hiroshi, there's some parallels to Bill Randa where Hiroshi, obviously losing his mother, figuring out that Shaw's still alive, kind of went on a mad one, trying to locate, the rifts, and it doesn't insinuate that he's trying to find his parents, but it does insinuate that he's trying to fix it all so that G-Day never happens again. But I would have liked it if it had paralleled. I would have liked it if it had paralleled his father a little bit more, and so you can kind of get an insight into his psyche from that perspective. It still doesn't make any goddamn sense why there was the random cheating two families storyline. Doesn't really make any sense. I don't care for that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's bad. I just don't like it. But anyway, they team up with Apex, and the closing of the series is they're on Skull Island. They're on Skull Island. Apex is obviously the company that had, and this is interesting, Apex is the company that developed Mechagodzilla, right? But Apex has got nothing to do with, I'd have to double check, but I don't think Apex had anything to do with Charles Dance's character in King of the Monsters. But anyway, by the time everyone gets topside again, 2 years has passed. So presumably, I don't know, a day has passed or something like that down there. Who knows? But anyway, 2 years has passed. And so Apex has an outpost on Skull Island. It's 2017, 2 years prior to the events of King of the Monsters. So I'd have to double check what Kong looks like, but Kong makes an appearance in this, and he does look badass. But again, budgetary constraints and things like this, we don't see him for very long. I get it. And then it's the closing of the series. That's it, it's done. So Apex is there, laying the foundations, the intermediary foundations for Apex in Kong Skull Island. But not Kong Skull Island. Godzilla versus Kong, where you've got Mecha Godzilla and all this kind of stuff. And I guess it does make sense now as to how Apex in Godzilla vs. Kong has the skull crawlers, because they're shown to have them as well, and they use them to test Mecha Godzilla. So there's all these kind of things which make sense, and then there's some stuff which doesn't. Ultimately, it was a fantastic episode because of the emotional weight and the great performances, right, from the likes of Kurt Russell. I'd have to Google the name, but Keiko's actress as well. They were all brilliant. It throws up some interesting stuff now for the timeline, because Keiko's around and the Randas are still around, but they're not in other movies. It's always a bit weird. But it was a great episode. But as a whole series, you know, I've alluded to it. It's a really substandard series. There were a lot of episodes. I think there was a good 2 episodes I really enjoyed, and then there was a good 3 or 4 where it just started to fall apart, and it gets weighed down with the modern day nonsense that we've come to expect from a lot of series. It didn't need it. It was superfluous, right? Randomly, May and Kate have formed a bizarre bond. I mean, that came out of nowhere. There's many things that just don't really add up. And it's almost like the writers had an aneurysm. The people that were writing the 50s didn't come back to write the future stuff. It's kind of all over the place. But there were absolutely fantastic episodes. But it's only because of the stuff set in the 50s and the things that the episodes where the 50s had established elements which then pay off in the future stuff. Those are where this series' strong things are. How Godzilla looks immaculate, looks absolutely brilliant. How he acts, brilliant. It all was fantastic. The Titan fight at the end of this episode, brilliant. But as a series, a letdown. A big letdown. And Legendary does need to learn from this. Big letdown. Good first entry, I guess, into Legendary TV production, but a letdown overall. So again, stellar episode. I can't stress that enough. You know, a good strong 7.5, 8 out of 10 as an episode. I really liked this episode because that whole reunion scene was just so heartfelt. So heartfelt. But as a show, mid at best. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have seen it. Let me know down below in the comment section. Please do give the video a big thumbs up and please do share it. Thank you so much there, ladies and gents, for watching my weekly reviews of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. We shall wait and see whether there's any future announcements for another series. Hopefully, and hopefully they learn. Cheers guys, take care. Bye bye now.